Good morning again. So let's begin with our focus statement this morning, shall we? We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. Yes. That feels good. Focus our minds, focus our bodies, focus our heart space, and just focus us right here together and focusing on what it is that we do here at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, and who it is that we are, and how it is that we walk in the world. This year, we are investigating the theme of spirituality in action, and that is the theme for Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide. So our theme for this month is advocating for freedom of thought and creativity. And today, specifically, we are talking about living in choice. That is the theme for this day. So what I can share with you is that we're always at choice, yes? We know this here, that we are always in choice. Yeah, even though sometimes we don't think we're in choice, that we actually are in choice. I didn't sound like you believed that one, right? But truly and honestly, we are always at choice. We are always in choice. We are always able to be at choice and always able to live in choice because first we are free. And it is the freedom that we are born with. It is that freedom that is inherent in the who of who we are. It is in that freedom of the divinity. It is in the freedom of the divine that we are created in that image and likeness. It is because we are first free that we are now bound. Because what do we, everybody's like, what? Right? Yeah, it's the same principle. How are you using your freedom? Are you using your freedom to continue to promote freedom within your life, or are you using your freedom to bind yourself? Are you using your freedom as limited thinking and limitations? Are you putting yourself in a box? Are you putting yourself in your own imprisoned nature? Are you putting yourself and making yourself live a small life? Or are you stepping out? Are you choosing to use your freedom for the highest good? Are you choosing to use your freedom to live your highest potential through that transformative power of love? Are you all absolutely living your highest potential right this minute? Anybody? Jeannie is. Francis is. Sarah might be. There's kind of a John, Sam, right? But we can always do better, yes? We can always up-level. We can always continue to create, continue to flow, continue to evolve. We are in a continuous evolutionary process of up-leveling and unfolding the divine potential, the highest potential within each one of us. That's why that statement is there, because it is an aspiration that we continue to strive toward, yes? And so we have the freedom to choose to do that, or we have the freedom to choose to limit ourselves, by limiting our ideas, limiting our beliefs, limiting our choices. But it's all based on our choices, yeah? So sometimes it feels like we are not necessarily at choice, right? Sometimes it's like, well, I didn't choose this particular life. I didn't choose this particular experience. I did not choose to be here this morning. But you did. You did choose to be here this morning. And so in that choice, there is freedom in that choice. You could have chosen to be anywhere else, and I'm so glad that you chose to be here and present here. But even when we feel that we don't have choices in our lives, we still have choices about how we think about them. We have choices about how we're going to respond to the circumstances. We have choices about whether we're going to respond or whether we're going to react to the circumstances. We have choices about what we're going to choose to believe about the circumstances. We have choices about what we're going to think about the circumstances, but we are always at choice because we are infinitely creative beings. We are forever creating our life experience. When we think about the creative process, right? What do we know about the creative process? I've taught this congregation pretty well. So what is the high idea is equivalent to what? Gardeners? A seed, right? The high idea is similar to a seed. And what do we do with the seed what do we do with that? We plant it into the soil. And the soil is that creative medium that knows how to create everything, knows what to do with everything, knows how to make life come forth, knows how to coax the life out of the seed and to help it grow. And then so what then does it grow into? It grows into the plant, it grows into form. So this is a metaphor for the way we use our thinking, that we plant an idea into that creative medium, into that creative law of mind that knows how to create everything. And based upon our faith, based upon our belief in it and our trust in it, then we get a plant, yes? So if I am planting a tomato seed, I'm going to get a tomato plant, right? And then hopefully I'm going to get a tomato. Hopefully it's going to bear fruit, right? Right? Same if I plant a grape seed, then eventually I get wine, right? Hopefully, right? But it is it is the idea that we are planting. So what seeds have we been planting? What seeds are you planting in your life? Are you planting seeds that you wish to bear fruit, or have you been allowing the dandelions to blow into your garden because you're not out there weeding the dandelions out, right? Or how about possibly your neighbor's tree, your neighbor's chamois ash is dumping all its seeds in your yard, right? And now you have all these little sprigs coming up, right, that are going to rip up your pavement, right? So we have these opportunities to tend our own garden, if you will. And so when we look at this as a metaphor, we tend our own mind, we tend our own thoughts, we tend our own ideas. And it is this tending, and it is this intentional planting, it is the intentional use of the law that we can choose to do. By that, we make choices, right? Or we can allow the winds to blow and things land in our garden and then things sprout and we can be at the effect of them, at the effect of other people's ideas, at the effect of other beliefs, at the effect of our own hidden subconscious beliefs that were implanted so long ago that took root. Our own family ideas, our own culture ideas, our own country's ideas that may have been planted so long ago that may not be serving us individually or us collectively. But we're always at choice. Because once we wake up and we become aware that we are at choice, then we have every moment to be able to interrupt the challenge, to interrupt the negativity, if you will, to interrupt the pattern that we no longer wish to experience. We have the opportunity to change our experience, to change our life. And as you've heard many times before, and Ernest Holmes was the first one to say it, change your thinking, change your life. That is absolutely true. And yet, when you look at the book that we are looking at this month, the book for the month that Centers for Spiritual Living is reading together is The Sun Does Shine, How I Found Life and Freedom on Death Row, written by Anthony Ray Hinton. Mr. Hinton, back in 1986, 86, was accused of murdering 2 men and attempting to murder a third. It was very obvious by all evidence, real evidence, that he wasn't in the place, that it could not have possibly happened. He was working in a supermarket warehouse where they locked the doors and they kept tabs on all of their employees going in and out. It's very clear that when this third incident happened, the third incident that got him arrested happened, he definitely had a clear alibi. And yet the state of Alabama prosecuted him because The survivor of the last incident, quote, pointed at him and said it was him. And based on the word of one man, and then they found an old .38 pistol of his mother's that hadn't been fired in over 25 years, and then claimed that that was the ballistics. They claimed ballistics, that that was the gun that was used. They fabricated all of these things, and he found himself on death row. An innocent man. And on death row, while maintaining his innocence through the entire time, there's an opportunity for him to just give up. The system clearly wronged him. The system clearly didn't work in his favor. The system was working for somebody, but it was not working for justice. But the system was working for somebody. And through all of it, through all of the challenges and all of the strife and all of the trouble, what he did is he continued to maintain his knowledge of who he is. He continued to maintain and keep his mind focused on the truth that he is innocent. He continued to keep his mind focused on his freedom. Because though the state of Alabama could take away his personal freedoms and liberties, they could not take away his mind. They could not take away his ability to think. They could not take away his ability to feel. They could not take his ability to believe. They could not take away his ability to love. 30 years it took before he was freed and found innocent of all charges. But the story is poignant and it's relevant to today, and it's also relevant and personal to each one of us. Because though his body was imprisoned, his mind was not. His life was not. His freedom was not. Because he was at choice. Every day he woke up, how do I want to be in the world today? How do I want to live my life in this situation? How am I going to get through this day? Who am I to be? How am I to show up? And so how many of us live in the prison of our mind? Live in the prison of our own past? Live in the prison of our story? Live in the prison of what happened to us, our experiences, our conditions. And then we have experienced that, but then we can continue to imprison ourselves by our own choices, by our own thoughts, by our own beliefs. What we've come to believe, what we've come to think about ourselves, what we've come to claim about ourselves. How many of us continue to live in that imprisonment because we have forgotten who we truly are, because we have forgotten how it works? None of us in here are imprisoned physically, but how many of us continue to imprison ourselves on a daily basis? How many of us continue to think that, oh, I can't get that job because I don't have the skill set, or I don't think I'm good enough, or I have to check that box because of one small mistake? How many of us think that I can't have that relationship because I wasn't loved by my father, I wasn't loved by my mother? How many of us continue to think that I can't give because I'm too poor? I don't have enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough talent. And so we withhold. See, all of these limitations are here. And so we have the opportunity in every moment to catch ourselves, to disrupt our pattern of behavior, to interrupt it, and to plant a new idea, a new thought, a new way of thinking, and begin to focus our attention on that and bring ourselves around to that, and then begin to create the life that we wish to experience. We are not bound by our conditions. We are free to make choice. This 4th of July was an interesting 4th of July for me. It was this kind of mixture of all kinds of things going on for me. When I thought back to my childhood, I remembered being at my grandparents', and they lived in an apartment complex in Lakewood. And all of the neighbors would get together all day long and celebrate. There would be this great big pool party. They would set up nets in the pool to play volleyball in the pool, or water volleyball in the pool. It was like potluck all day long. Breakfast, everybody would bring stuff, and then they bring it out again at lunch, and then they bring it out again at dinner. And, the stairways that have the space through, us as little kids, we would stick our legs through that and sit on the step and stick the legs through that, and then use the next step as our table, And then at the very end, there would be a fireworks show from a nearby mall that we could all see together. And they were fond memories. They're really fond memories. And yet now, as an adult, and now looking at the world in a different way, with new eyes and fresh eyes, and especially after our fabulous Juneteenth celebration that we had here about freedom and emancipation just a couple weeks ago, this particular holiday was much different for me. My perspective of it was different. What I was looking at was different. I started the morning off reading Frederick Douglass's speech from 1852 on what Independence Day to a slave means. And then I continued to see images of children in cages and thinking about what that means for those beloveds who have come to our country's shores. And I talked to the women in my life and thought about them and their dominion over their own bodies. And I talked to my beloved and our life together and what it means to be LGBTQ now, right now. And so there was some melancholy. There was a lot to celebrate, but there was also a melancholy feel to the day. And so I spent a lot of time in quietude. And I was really thinking about, after I shared with you about Artemio last week and how we can invite, the one starfish and helping one person at a time. And I was thinking about all of these beloveds who are coming to our borders, coming to our southern border, and thinking about the difficult choice they have to make. The difficult choice of leaving all that they've known behind and following a dream, following a greater belief, a belief in freedom, a belief in a better life, a belief in more prosperity, a belief in safety, a belief in infinite possibility and potentiality, a belief in the American dream. And how strong this belief has to be, how strong this hope, this desire, this urge has to be for them to be willing to leave everything behind and cross over 2,000 miles of harsh terrain with the last of it being pure desert, to then reach our border. And how difficult it must be to then have to swim or find another way. And I think about that young father and his 2-year-old daughter, and the belief and the choice that had to happen, and the full belief of there is something greater here for me, there is something better, there is something wider, there is something infinitely more possible than what I'm leaving behind. And the courage that that takes to do that. So my question to you is, if you have a challenge in your life right now, a challenge of limitation right now, a challenge that you are facing, or even something that's like little itty bitty and tiny that's like, I wish this was better. What's stopping you? What's stopping you from leaving behind your old country and making the trek? Sometimes it is treacherous, but making the trek to the possibility of a promised land, to something that you wish to experience. What's stopping you? What's stopping you? It all starts in consciousness. It all starts here, and here. It all starts right here. So I invite you this day to remember that you live in choice. And with that choice, there's an independence. And with that independence, there is a responsibility. There's a responsibility to your own self, but there's a responsibility to then turn and help the next person across. And turn and help the next person across. To be the light, to be the way shower, to be the light bearer, to guide the way. Just like we saw with the quilt a couple weeks ago on the Underground Railroad. The quilt was a way of communicating. It was a way of pointing the direction to freedom. So we can't just claim independence and think that we are free. Claiming independence means we are responsible for ourselves and for one another. So in every moment of every day, we live in choice. What is it that you choose today? Do you choose your own bondage, or do you choose freedom? Blessed be. So I invite our practitioners to come and please form a line across the front of the platform here. This is the first Sunday of the month. And as the first Sunday of the month, we have our prayer wall. Here they come. And so for those of you who would like to receive prayer this morning, I invite you to begin forming a line down the center of the sanctuary here. Come on across. Come on across. There's still more. Come on. There's more space on this way if we want to keep going that way. So every first Sunday of the month, we invite you to come forward and receive prayer from one of our professional prayer practitioners. And so what I invite you to do is I invite you to choose what you're wishing to step into or what you're wishing to experience more of today. Use that as a conscious choice and simply state that one word to the practitioner. And first, speak your name, and then speak your word that you are choosing to embrace this day, that you are choosing to live more fully this day. So, for example, my name is Serena, and today I choose joy. And then the practitioner will pray with you for joy. All right, so I'm going to start with the first 2 steps of treatment, and then our practitioners are going to do the remaining 3 steps of treatment. So if you are interested in receiving prayer this morning, I invite you to go ahead and start forming a line here this morning. Jossie, come on, I see you. Don't be shy. All know that the line continues to form. So right here and right now, I recognize that there's one power, one presence, one life, one love, one infinite eternal beingness, the allness, the fullness, and the isness that is the divine. I call it many names. Today I choose to call it love. I choose to call it abundance. I choose to call it peace. I choose to call it harmony and wisdom and right order and right action. I choose to call it unity. I choose to call it the one. I choose to call it God, Buddha, Allah, Krishna. And whatever name I choose to call it, it doesn't matter because it is the all in all, the fullness of all life, the beginner, the creator, that which is back of all of life, the one original source that brought forth all of its creation, as itself. It is truly all that there is. There is only this one. And as I recognize that there's only this one, I recognize that I am one with it, that is the fullness and allness of my being, that every quality that it is, I am, because I am a divine emanation and impartation of this one life. The who of who I am is the divine made manifest. And I allow this word to continue now, knowing that it is true of all of creation, all of life, of everyone standing before me. And so what I know right here, right now, is that it is already done. Every word spoken here this day is already done. Spoken, and that which remains spoken in the silence of our own hearts. That truly a choice has been made, a choice of freedom, a choice of love, a choice of prosperity, abundance, harmony, joy, unity, and peace. And so I give thanks for this. I give thanks for its realization, and I release this word into the law, knowing that it is already done, it is already so. I simply let it be so. And together we affirm, and so it is.